what's up, everybody? We're back. We are back to Let's Talk Money. I missed y'all. I know last month we started focusing on our financial freedom series. We launched the Become a Black Millionaire Challenge. And look, we've seen lives shift. We've seen lives change. But I want to get back to the root. I want to get back to the core, what I committed to y'all this year on a monthly basis. I'm going to be giving you guys free game on how to actually build wealth and build also a legacy that you could be proud of. And so I'm excited. If y'all here, just let me know in the chat like what's going on. But either way, man, look, I don't want to spend too much time on preliminaries today because I'm super pumped. Like, look, we always said the conversation was going to be different. We're going to always elevate it, right? It wasn't just going to be the traditional conversations that most people have about money, right? That's why we started with this thing with getting your credit right. We looked at the Black Wall Street in February. We talked about women in money, women in finance. I wanted to take a different angle this month to really focus on something that, in my perspective, that I didn't even know a lot about until I heard this brother talk about, I want to say 6 months to a year ago. And man, the brother brought straight heat on this concept of business acquisition. I don't know if you ever heard of that, but like, I never thought about, hey, not just starting your business, but can you get to a space where you're buying existing businesses that have already done it all? And so look, man, I'm so excited about this guy, Donnie Bedney. He is the president of PSP Metrics. This brother's an entrepreneur. He's a grinder. He's wealthy. He's successful. God has had his hand on him and favor on him. And so I'm asking him to come today to bless this community. And so without further ado, Donnie, what's up, my guy?
What's going on, man? How are you?
Good, man. Good to see you. Hey, look, I'm going to get out your way, my boy. Do what you got to do. Talk to my people, man. And we look forward to hearing what you got to bring to us today.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt, man. Appreciate it. So what's up, everybody? I don't know if you all can see me. I feel like my computer is not necessarily showing me that you can hear me, but you got me?
Yeah, you good to go. You good.
All right,
Let's
man.
go.
Cool.
Let's get it.
No worries. Cool. So, hey, super excited about being with you all this evening. Thank you to Joe and the rest of the team, frankly, for having me out. We're going to talk tonight about something that I am extremely passionate about, which is entrepreneurship through acquisition, right? You can think of it as ETA. And so for the rest of the night, I'll refer to it as ETA. Some people call it, acquisition, entrepreneurship. You've probably heard of it at some point. And if not, after today, you won't be able to stop thinking about it. Right. And so probably about it was a while ago, well over 20 years ago now. I was a teenager and I read a book and the book was entitled, "Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun?" Right. And this story was the biography of this gentleman by the name of Reginald Lewis. How many of you have heard of Reginald Lewis? All right. Obviously I can't hear you, but just asking. So Reginald Lewis was the first Black billionaire in the United States of America. And in the 80s, what he did is he acquired this business called Beatrice Foods in the mid 80s. At that point, it was the largest international acquisition in the U.S. history, $987 million for this conglomerate of companies, right? And I encourage you to get that book. I've read it probably 7 to 10 times in my life. Just picked it up again this year for another read, and they're going to be coming out with a movie soon. But that was the first time that I was exposed to this concept, to the fact that, hey, you could go out and buy a business, right? And when I think about the Black community in general, and I know that we have, a blend of millennials and, other folks on here. But when I think about my community specifically, we are probably some of the most entrepreneurial people that I have ever witnessed in my life, right? But most of the time, it's all based on bootstrapping, right? And so you think about like, well, how much cash do I have? How much cash do we potentially have as a family? And what are we going to start? And how do we start it from the ground up and build this amazing thing, right? And so I'm going to give you guys an analogy, which I think is going to resonate with you really, really well. So Once again, kind of show of hands. I know you're in the privacy of your own home or, wherever you are. How many of you, at this point have somebody in your family that makes the best sweet potato pie you have ever had in your life? I'm sure just about everybody's hand went up, right? And if your family is similar to mine, because I know that there's multiple people in my family who make amazing things, is the reality is that most families will get around the holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and what is the conversation? Grandma, grandpa, auntie, uncle, if you opened up a restaurant with this sweet potato pie, we'd be rich, right? Right. Or maybe that's just my family, right? And the more entrepreneurial families, what do? They open up that restaurant, right? And for most people, that restaurant stays open for maybe 3 years, maybe five. It shuts down, and my family's a family of faith, and so if it didn't work out, what's the classic line? Well, it wasn't God's will, right? And that's fine, right? But sticking with the analogy, I can guarantee you, and regardless of where you are in the country, check this out when you go to the grocery store tonight or this weekend or anything else. I guarantee you go into your local grocery store, and there is going to be a pecan pie company that might be called Sally Smith's, and it has been around since like 1912. And they talk about, you can see the packaging, right? You have family values, all this kind of stuff. It's been around for forever. And I say this in jest, but this is also very much the reality. The grandchildren of Sally Smith are out in LA pursuing acting, right? Or they're down in Miami pulling up to real estate showings in the Lamborghini, right? Because the lifestyle that this business, that this family has had, which is probably cash flowing like 500,000 to maybe $2.5 million a year, if not more, it has really created a lifestyle where they are not going to come back home and run Sally Smith's local pecan pie business, right? And so, what I would say is that your family, who has this amazing sweet potato pie, should acquire this business, which, frankly, if you don't step in and buy it, is probably just going to cease to exist, right? They'll liquidate, disperse all the assets to the family, and that business will cease to exist. But on the day that you purchase it, what do you get? You get the existing cash flow, right? So that $500,000 to $2.5 million a year. And on top of that, what do you get to do? For the first time in the 100+ year history of Sally Smith's Pecan Pie Company, you get to innovate. And what do you already have? You already have distribution and customers. So what's your first holiday kind of meeting as you're prepping for sales? You're going to that local grocery store and saying, "Hey, we're innovating for the first time in 100 years, and we have the best sweet potato pie you have ever tasted in your life." And what we want to do is we want to get that with shelf space right next to our pecan pies, which are great and you always stock. And so what have we done? We've already added value to a business that is possibly plateaued with existing cash flow, and we've potentially grown that by 50%, 100%, maybe even 200%. And we have this existing business that we can continue to use that existing cash flow to grow wealth for our own families. And so, with that, I'm sure at this point there's probably some pauses, maybe some additional comments in the chat. I'm not even looking at the chat, but Joe and Kirk, maybe you guys can let me know kind of what's going on there. But one of the things as I transition, you're probably like, Donnie, okay, you shared this concept with me. Where do I get the money to actually how do I even think? How does one even think about buying an existing business, right? And so I'm going to give you three ways that you can think about buying an existing business, right? And so one is SBA financing, right? And so as we all know, we probably heard of the Small Business Administration. So the government has allotted millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars, to specific financial institutions to distribute SBA financing to small to medium-sized businesses. And that same money can be used to also acquire a small and medium-sized business, right? Now, let's be clear. There is a need for assets, but I know you all are working on credit. Probably talked about real estate and all these other things. So there is a personal guarantee that comes along with this SBA loan. However, the SBA is willing to finance up to 90%, typically like in the 70 to 80% range of this acquisition. And so then you only need to come up with another 10% or so that you would probably come up with. And then the sellers would have to come up with like another 10 to 15% as well, right? That's doable, right? A lot of you are probably saying, man, this is just like buying a house, right? Except it's purchasing a cash flowing business. All right. So that's SBA financing. What's the other way? So when I purchased PSP Metrics, I went out with a business partner of mine and we actually raised the money, right? So some people call it the pass the hat method. I know a lot of us are millennials, so it's just raising money, right? Going out, talking to people, you have your business plan, you have this existing business, and you're literally raising private capital to purchase this business. And typically those people would then be shareholders. You would distribute equity similar to any of the companies that you potentially follow on the stock market or otherwise, except you would be private and you would use that money to then acquire that business. And then the third way, which is not as common, but as you think about these small, cash flowing businesses, it's similar to real estate again, seller financing, right? And so think about it. Let's say a business is potentially selling for $1 million, but it's cash flowing $250,000 a year, right? Or let's use 500,000 just for the sake of this conversation. And so what you could get this individual to agree to is to say, hey, look, we have this great business. It's making $1 million. We know you're looking to retire, but the reality is we have a great plan for it, and we'd like to purchase it, and we'll use some of the existing cash flow that over the next 4 years, we will pay you $250,000 a year as part of that existing cash flow towards that $1 million purchase price that we are agreeing to. Make sense? All right. Let me continue. So if you're curious about what is the biggest or what is the overall opportunity that exists here, right? Like, Donnie, how many businesses are there, and what is the real opportunity? Well, check this out. The Exit Institute 2018 predicted this decade, right, 2020 through 2030, 4.5 million businesses would be for sale. Let me say that number again. 4.5 million businesses for sale. And we're talking about businesses, once again, we're not talking about, turnarounds and all this kind of stuff. Now, they may be plateaued, right? But these businesses are earning like $500,000 to $2.5 million a year, you all. $500,000, $500,000 to $2.5 million a year. Now, check this out, because I'm sure some of you already are like, Donnie, but what do I do about my salary? I'm working for a corporation. I make 6 figures a year, right? Because you're rolling with Joe, so I know you guys get money, right? I got real estate investments. I'm making $100,000, $150,000, $250,000 a year, right? What would you say? Well, I would say that you should only look at businesses where the owners are already paying themselves a salary through this business that's at least equivalent to what you're already making, if not more. There are numerous businesses where these individuals are making their salary and also being owners, right? I'm sure. Mind blown emoji. Guaranteed. I don't even need to see your faces. I am sure right now. Look, I think Joe's like, this is brilliant. Nice. So check this out, man. It's like as you're continuing to look for businesses to buy. So my recommendation would be, you're not going to look to buy anything that's not currently cash flowing, period, right? And you don't want to purchase anything where the existing owner or operator's salary is kind of not in, or even partner's salary would equal to, kind of what you're currently making, just as you continue to think about your lifestyle and everything else, right? And so that's great. Now, probably another question that is looming is folks are like, hey, where the hell do we find these businesses? Sorry, that's my 4-letter word. Where the hell do we find these businesses, right? And my solution to you would be this. So one, there's a number of business brokers that are going to be, in your area, wherever you live, you're going to be able to find plenty of, business brokers or people who represent people who are looking to sell their business. But here's a real good secret, which you may have already had in your community, right? I would recommend finding small and medium-sized business accountants and attorneys, right? Because these people have probably been representing these businesses for a number of years, and they're also going to have a better feel on whether or not people are potentially thinking about exiting their business, even though they haven't formally offered it up for sale. Make sense? All right, bet. Damn, man, I've been flowing for a while, Joe. I kind of want to pause just because I feel like questions are going to be unbelievable. You want to pop back in and we kind of hop into some questions? I'm sure there's a bunch of different ways that I can go.
Nah, look, so I'm tracking, man. So I'm writing questions down. I'm seeing it in the chat. Man, we vibing with you, bro. So we could keep going and we could just take all the questions at once. We could break it up, whatever you're comfortable with, man. But
yeah, so I think it might make sense at this point. I just don't want it to be. I think it would be more impactful if we start hopping into some questions, and I can flow with some of the questions.
Let's do it. So look, I'm gonna again, we're tracking. So a couple good questions came up. One of the ones is like, what are some of the things when you look to acquire businesses? Like, what are some of the things you look for in a good business to buy?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I mentioned before, right, we're only looking for cash flowing businesses, right? So similar to a lot of you folks who might be in real estate, right? If you can find a piece of property that already has tenants, that's already cash flowing, like that's what you need to look at, right? And that's why I say buying a business is actually very similar to real estate, because in our community, when you think about wealth building, everybody's going to talk to you about real estate, and that's fine. And for a bunch of you that are already in real estate, I say keep rocking with it. But for those of you that haven't necessarily got into it, what I would recommend is, if you're not getting into like home care services, if you're not getting into retirement communities, right? Newsflash, baby boomers are retiring and everybody's trying to like find services for baby boomers, right? But what I'm telling you today, and Joe said we're going to have different conversations. I'm telling you, you need to talk to those baby boomers, and you need to talk to them about buying their business that they've owned for the past 20, 30, 40, 50 years that's allowing them to retire, right? And I'm going to send this as a follow-up piece. I have a graph that shows the distribution of wealth or composition of wealth for the ultra wealthy, rich, and like middle class. And when you look at it, the percentage that a lot of us have been taught, as far as the percentage of real estate for our wealth, if you look at the distribution in this, it's going to be completely reversed, right? So it's almost, I want to say it's around 40% for the ultra wealthy of their net worth is business ownership and stock, right? Real estate is actually less than 10% of their composition of wealth. I'm gonna let that sink in. Less than 10% of their composition of wealth is real estate. Anyway, we can keep going. So hopefully that answers the question.
It does.
We're going for cash flowing businesses, ideally, as well as we think about clients, right? One of the benefits to buying an established business is existing clients, right? And so the innovations or areas that you may be passionate in, industries that you may already have expertise in, I would be willing to bet my future earnings, right? That for everything you're passionate about, there is an existing cash flowing business in that industry that you could acquire.
So dude, man, like and I'm looking in the comments, like people never even thought of this before, right? This is not even in the lane of forget consumerism. Like even when we start thinking wealth, people don't think acquisition of businesses. Either like we got to get our bootstraps, we got to figure this thing out, or we got to save a little money. So look, there's a question here from Alistair. He says, "What is your method of actually going to find these businesses?"
Sure.
Maybe talk to that.
Yeah. So, for me, long time relationship with a guy who, has worked in this area of the market, specifically in private equity. And so he served as a great partner for me because of his track record, he was getting tons of deals. Right. And so there's plenty, and I'm happy to make introductions and, find some stuff. But you know what? Better yet, exclusive tonight. Joe and I did not talk about this. I got a buddy, really good buddy of mine, here in the Boston area where I live, that owns a platform that specifically exists to help both entrepreneurs who are looking for existing businesses as well as people who are looking to sell their businesses. And we're going to find a way to connect this community with that business to get access to this platform.
Yo, please. Y'all hear that? I'm going to make sure we share this to the community because this is the stuff we need. Like, this is the game we need. So, yeah, I appreciate that, Donnie. This is some good stuff, bro. Some good stuff.
Period.
All right. So,
Joe and I are going to get you that resource.
Yeah, we'll work on that. So this is good, though, because now I want to get into the tactical part of, like, I know I get the cash flow part. I get the economics piece. Mm-hmm. But there's a part of us who get into a business because we're passionate about a particular area. And so I want to take this question from John Nixon. He says, look, our business relationship is intimacy. Should they consider acquiring a counseling service or something in that relationship space for access to more customers? Like, how would you answer that question?
That's it. So my short answer would be yes. And actually, as you think about it, I believe the platform is called Micro Acquire. Okay. I will get the exact title, but I believe it's Micro Acquire, John. And Micro Acquire, check this out, another platform that exists, but specifically it's selling like software businesses, right? So because you have a business around relationship intimacy and stuff like that, actually what it does is a lot of people, will attempt to build platforms or SaaS businesses, right? Software as a service, right? They either get tired and have put in this capital, have built this amazing platform, have existing customers who are interested in relationships or anything else, and that could be a perfect opportunity for you and April to continue growing your relationship intimacy business. Counseling, possibly. What I would say is if you can find like a business through like Micro Acquire or something else that has already built a relationship platform, that could be a significant accelerant to your business, arguably even more so than like a counseling service or something similar to that.
By the way, guys, just something to note, and keep me honest, Donnie. This is not just for like corporations do this too. By the way, when they think of growth, it's not always organic growth. It's inorganic.
Our community does not do it enough.
Correct.
This is a true accelerant to wealth building and to doing things that you are passionate about, right? Yeah. So continuing actually in the answer to that question is, think about things that you're passionate about, and that's fine. But I'm also going to give you some free game on what some of these businesses are making from a cash flow perspective. And in a funny way, but not so funny way, you could develop a passion. So like this whole passion myth to me is like, let's get you an existing cash flowing business that you can run or have an operator run. Because by the way, if it's cash flowing and at least at $500,000, you could pay somebody else $150,000 to run that business and take home $350,000 a year and not even operate that thing. And then you can pursue whatever you're passionate about, because I don't know what you're passionate about. You might be a surfer. You might like to play golf. You might like gardening, right?
Yeah.
But if you got to work for somebody and stay in whatever your corporate gig is until then you're not going to have the opportunity to really get out of that, right? So check this out. I know for a fact, and Joe, you're gonna have to guess because you can't guess on this. What is what do you think a company, small business, Central Ohio, it makes stickers and buttons. I'm gonna repeat, stickers and buttons, small business, maybe 3 or 4 employees, and one guy in his mid 30s who's owned this business for some time. What do you think they make in profit a year?
Profit? That's after
Yeah,
expenses, even
net
like
income,
paying
net
employees?
income.
Okay.
Yep.
I don't know, maybe 100 grand.
Okay, that's a good guess. I'll let you guys type in the chat. What for
Somebody
30
said
seconds, real quick.
350K.
All right,
350K.
350, 350. Let's try. Let's try 2.5 million. Let me repeat, because I'm not gonna go too hard on you guys tonight. Actually, I don't even think we need to go the whole hour, frankly, because people's minds are exploded. $2.5 million, stickers and buttons. Stickers and buttons. Once again, I am not here to tell you to not pursue your passion, because a lot of you were raised similar to me and you were probably told to pursue your passion, right? Or get good grades and like get into it so you can get in the best company. And when you make 6 figures, like your life is going to change, right?
Yeah.
That is a myth. I cried the first time I made 6 figures because I thought that was going to be the answer. And like my life was no different. My parents' lives were no different. I wasn't making an impact on my family. But I guarantee you, if I was in my 30s, and I would love to own a stickers and button company that's cash flowing $2.5 million a year. Oh, by the way, I'm paying myself a salary in this business. This is just $2.5 million that my business makes at the end of the year. Look, Joe's face is on stuck because all of the rest of your faces are exploding. Stickers and buttons. Stickers and buttons.
Says we all about to start selling stickers. That's what's up though, man. That's fire, man.
Check this out. Check this out. So I'm literally sitting here at the airport, right? How many of you, when you've been to a Walmart or a Costco or something like that, you see kind of these I'm literally looking at some now, like these cement blocks that like prevent you from either pulling out of a parking garage and going around the gate and all that kind of stuff. You guys know the kind of pieces I'm talking about?
Yep.
Good buddy of mine, also operating partner with Scale Code, this investment company that I raised money with, bought a business in Central Ohio that all they do is they make the plastic Ballard covers. So they make plastic covers that cover those cement blocks. But guess what? They sell those to Walmarts, Amazon distribution centers. You're not going to, literally, everyone who's listening tonight, you're not going to be able to pass one of those without thinking there is an existing business that's making millions of dollars a year selling those plastic covers. So I literally want you to think of me as you are driving around, because everything that you see, I need you to be aware of the fact that there is most likely a small to medium-sized business that is delivering that niche, that specific niche product, and may have been owned for well over 50 years by a family.
Yeah, that's crazy. And you know what's crazy too? Like, people don't realize the role the SMB market is in America from an employment perspective. 70% of people are employed by small businesses. It's not like corporations employs everybody. You know what I'm saying?
Look, bro, you're on to something, right? So check this out. Just so you all know, because I haven't met all of you, but we may meet in person at some point. Anybody, please know that if I'm in this conversation and anybody talks about like closing the wealth gap and their answer is raising the minimum wage, then I'm tuning out of that conversation. Right? Because the reality is, if we want more people in our community to come up from a wealth perspective, then I want you to go and buy a business, and you can create like an employee stock purchase program, and you go out and hire more people that look like you. Because what's the likelihood of people hiring? It's people that look like you. You can't hire more people that look like you if you don't own the business. Period.
Talking good.
Dog, I'm about to turn up. So as you
This
guys
is
can
what we
see,
need, bro. This is what we need.
I'm
This is
getting
what we
passionate,
need.
man. Like, don't talk to me about raising the wealth gap. Don't talk to me about all these other things. Like, no political thing, right? Nobody, politicians or anybody else, is not going to be able to do for our community what we can do.
That's it.
And ownership of existing cash flowing businesses that other communities have owned, that have once again created generational wealth for them, right? Because if you really wanted to do it in real estate, then I would say, yo, give me a time machine and let's go back to what, the 60s and 70s, and like erase redlining.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying that from a short-term perspective, right? Because we're gonna catch people, relatively speaking, on real estate like in 30 years. But I'm talking about this decade. I want to be a conduit for $1.5 trillion in capital to go to Black people who are looking to buy or grow existing businesses this decade.
So, dude,
I got that 1.5 trillion because that was our consumer spending.
Yep. So
let's take that same money and buy.
Yeah. Dude, I'm putting everything. So let's because people want to get practical now, right? Like if somebody, and for those who are tuning in who are watching this, like, give me some like straight up practical steps that I can do to get started. Number one, and if you could talk to the funding piece, right? Because I'm assuming the SBA is not going to give everybody $2 million, right? Like, or $10 million, whatever that amount is.
Once again, the personal guarantee for SBA financing is the biggest hurdle that most people are going to have to get over and around. That's the biggest piece. But let me say this as well, because this is a statement that everybody needs to understand. There is a significant amount of dry powder out there that private investment companies and others have, and there is no shortage of capital. There is literally billions of dollars outside of the government, billions of dollars that private equity and other small investment groups and stuff have, right? There is also, as I told you, millions of opportunities, right? So no shortage of capital, no shortage of opportunity. Guess what the biggest gap is? People who want to buy businesses and or run businesses, right? Now, for those entrepreneurial people here, right? So we're being transparent, right?
Yep.
I own 20% of my business, right? Because I raised capital, etc. So we wrote a check. I own 20% of my business. I got a salary with my business. My investors own the other 80%, right? Let's check this out. The two guys that we bought the business from, 4 full-time employees, 3 part-time. They owned the business for 30 years. From 1998 to 2018, they took home $33 million in executive bonuses. You have never heard of my company. There are people in Pittsburgh who have never heard of my company. And it's 76 years old this year. So once again, so I get around to answering the question, no shortage of capital, no shortage of opportunities. The biggest gap is people that can run these businesses. So when you think about capital, that second option that I shared with you, pass the hat or raising money, I would argue that that's potentially the easiest, because as you continue, because you know this now exists, I almost guarantee you that there are people within your existing network, and if not, I'm in your network now, Joe's in your network, accountants, attorneys, other investment folks who know of these opportunities, know of people who are potentially willing to sell their business. And oh, by the way, because they know of that, they know of access to capital or people with capital that are looking to grow these businesses. And then my question to you is, would you rather own a business that you could potentially grow and own 20% of it? Or would you like to own a business that's 100% owned by you that makes, I don't know, less than $33 million over 20 years? I can tell you, and once again, we're sharing transparently, right? So my owner percentage based on what we raised is just to get my business to $2.5 million in free cash flow. Well, EBITDA, right? So earnings before interest. Yeah. So we should hit 1 million this year. We said we'd hit 2.5 million by 2026, right? If we hit 2.5 million by 2026, then my ownership percentage would be worth $2.5 million. I'm just going 20%. I'm getting a salary, 6-figure salary a year, $2.5 million.
Ownership. Yep. You're a multimillionaire.
By the way, that please love the tax code. I need y'all to look up what a 1202. All right, 1202. It's part of the tax code, whatever, right? And in my own words, 1202. If you own equity in a small business and you hold that equity for up to 5 years,
Yep, 5 years.
right?
Yep.
5 years. What happens? You can keep up to $10 million. Tax
free.
$10 million tax free, or 10x of your initial investment, whichever is larger. So just so y'all know, and since we, this is Let's Talk Money, and I'm with my boy Joe, I'm giving y'all a heads up. Like, I'm not leaving no money on the table.
Yes, sir.
So we're gonna get at least 10.
Yes, sir. You preaching now, bro. You preaching now.
Because 10.5 million for my family and how I grew up. You talk about generational wealth, like 10.5 million tax free is that's generationally transformational.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
And by the way, I don't hit Forbes making that 10 making that 10 million. I might not even hit my local newspaper. And that's where we've got it messed up, man, as a community, because we hear about Jay-Z's a billionaire, you hear about Rihanna's a billionaire, you hear about Kanye, but I'm telling you, everybody on this thing that's listening now, and everybody that you can tell, you can all be Donnie Bedney. And we need thousands of me. We need thousands of me. Thousands. Because if we get thousands of me, then we can get hundreds of billionaires. But I need, like, I see this word mindset shift, and that's why I'm sharing my story, man, because it's about exposure and education, that this is actually an option. Because we didn't even know that it was an option.
It wasn't, guys. We're not playing on Let's Talk Money. There's a book too, man. It's called The Millionaire Next Door, and it talks about, the car of the average billionaire. You know what I'm saying? It's a Ford. I think it's like a Ford 150. The average millionaire doesn't look like us, and so we always get accustomed to seeing that very small percentage that may appear as flossy and all this stuff. So like, that's what we strive for. We strive for symbols, right? So we'll spend what we don't have to things that don't matter. This right here, though, bro, is like straight game. Like I'm learning, dude. I'm learning as you speak.
Hey. Let's go another book for everybody. And Kimon, I see Kimon Hines on here. This is my guy. I gave him this recommendation. Buy Then Build. It's by Walker Dybel. Right?
Let's put that in the chat. Yep.
Yeah, put that in the chat. It's one of the most practical, step-by-step kind of philosophies on how to buy an existing business. Walks you through the SBA process, actual numbers, all that kind of stuff. Walker Dybel. Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun is the name of the book title.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who wrote it, but Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun? There's not going to be any other book on there. It's going to be a swaggy. There's a swaggy black dude on the front, sick tailored navy blue suit, power tie, with a cigar and one of the meanest mustaches you've ever seen. Yeah. He looks like my pops used to back in the day.
Dude, honestly, I feel like this is the stuff that we should be teaching. Not just teaching us, but teaching our kids. Like, we don't talk enough about this concept of even just ownership. Like, we don't even know. Like, we're so focused on consumption. And I think this is just a good shift and a refreshing idea on how to look at this. So that's dope, man. Really, really appreciate it.
Well, think about it, man. So, man, I wish we had more time, man, because I could literally talk about this for hours. And I'm happy to come back, by the way. And
we're gonna get you back. We're gonna get you back.
I don't want to hog it. I don't want to hog it for sure, because there's plenty of people with gems. But check this out. My daughter's 2, right? I don't know about y'all, but once again, when I grew up, you know, at church and everything else. Like the only people that I thought made money or had money were who? Attorneys
Doctors.
and doctors.
Yep. That's it.
That was it. So when I couldn't go to law school, and I decided like I didn't love science that much.
Yep.
It was like, dang, what do I do? But check this out. This dude that I went to kindergarten with, his daddy was a plumber. And everybody used to have jokes about, oh, you clean toilets, blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
If you go back to my town, 2 stoplights, when we got the second stoplight, that was a big deal. This dude's plumbing company, they're now a general contractor. You can't build anything without thinner plumbing and using it, right? Not to mention, think about it. We're not even completely out of this pandemic, right? So, you know, BC or AC, right? Before COVID or after COVID. If your toilet breaks, right? Or your air conditioner shuts down, you just saying like, hey, yo, it's a pandemic, man. We can't get the toilet fixed. Babe, kids, etc. You're not gonna fix your toilet?
No, we're gonna fix the toilet.
You're not gonna fix your AC? Right?
Yeah.
So think about, once again, and you're gonna put up whatever the money is. So cash flow in businesses, man, and I'm not saying go out and buy an HVAC company, but they're for sale. Yeah. My encouragement, I'm not saying don't go out and buy a truck, because there's a lot of people talking about, let's go buy trucks, let's go do whatever it is. But what I'm here to share with you tonight is, if you think about buying one truck, I guarantee you, and once again, I'm leaning in, I bet my future earnings, you could find an existing business that owns 20 to 50 trucks with drivers, with operators. And oh, by the way, they have existing contracts. And oh, by the way, they have all the infrastructure that you need. And what do? You turn that around, and potentially it's a minority-owned business now. And what do? You go get more contracts. I'm gonna pause.
So let me ask you this though. Let me ask you this though, because because you said, and you brought up a good point, that real estate has a lot of similarities with business acquisition. Let me say this. I always tell people, even with real estate, the easiest part is getting the finance to acquire the building. The hardest part is maintaining it, right? Make sure the payments and all that stuff, and you don't get kind of caught. Maybe if you could just walk through the audience of saying, hey, look, after you've acquired the company, how do you make sure that you're running it the right way and not running it to the ground where you lose some of the cash flow, right?
Man. So I mean, you know, I'm about 1.5 years in. So all I can say is this, you know, my business has now hit a J curve, right? So for those of you that don't know, the J curve is basically like, typically when you acquire a business, you potentially invest, you know, in it for the first time, right? So earnings kind of drop. Hopefully revenue doesn't, but like earnings kind of drop, right? And then because of some of the changes you've made, then it starts growing again. And so that's where my business is now, right? So we'll probably hit $1 million in EBITDA this year, after dropping to about 350. But I'd say that, you know, once again, as you're thinking about a business that you want to be able to, as you're going through kind of the due diligence process, you really just want to immerse yourself in kind of everything about this business, right? Yeah. But once again, because it's an existing business, then you should still have employees. You'll definitely have loyal customers. And what I would say is, over your first 30 to 60 days and taking over that business, I would go spend time not only immersing yourself in the business, but immersing yourselves with clients, right? And the existing clients, because that's going to give you even more context, along with, frankly, your employees, because a lot of the people who ran those businesses historically, some of them are going to exit shortly after you purchase, but the employees are most likely longtime employees when you're talking about small and medium-sized businesses. And it's amazing the context that I've been able to get from my direct employees, because they're the ones who are spending the most time with my customers. And so between spending time with customers and spending time with my existing employees, it's not that. And to your point, Joe, one other thing that I'm going to throw out to everybody, and here's another a mindset shift. I'm not going to tell you what a lot of us, once again, probably grew up saying, which is, what's the worst that can happen? I'm going to say something different, which is, what's the best that can happen?
Yeah.
And the best that can happen is actually this business, you grow it significantly because it's plateaued and you're just going to continue delivering the services that people have received for the past 10, 20, 30, 40 years. And you can just maintain that. Right? You don't have to get fancy. That's the cool thing about this, right? You don't have to get fancy. Just keep it doing what it's doing. But you're going to find ways, just because you have new eyes, to add a little more value. Because a lot of these businesses haven't had sales and marketing. Their technology is potentially old. They've never made upgrades to technology. My business, as an example, like, we never had a customer portal. So my clients have literally been used to just calling us for their reports. It's an assessment company, so we do pre-hire selection. So for anybody who's taken an assessment before you've gotten hired for a job, it might have come from us, right? But all of that has been relatively a manual process because of my psychologist. And so we've now been able to upgrade the technology, streamline that a little bit more, and we're rolling out our brand new platform this quarter. Which actually puts us for a longer conversation, it puts us in a category where we will be becoming a software as a service business, which changes our multiple if we decide to sell and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully that answers part of it.
I'm following. So let me ask you this now. Put this in context for me, because we had a little bit of time, but I want to make sure we kind of drive some. And if you have any more last questions in the chat, post it. Put this in context of legacy for us. Everything we've been talking about has been building the Black legacy. And I always tell people, we can shift this in one generation. Whatever bad thing that they say about African Americans, and from the economic stats, it does show that we're laggards. But help me understand how this could impact our legacy, and make it personal, man. Even for you, when you think about the next generation, how do you pass the torch?
Yeah, no doubt. So I mean. Man, which way do I want to go on this? So I'll start off with one thing. So being an owner and running a business has allowed me a lot of flexibility to, frankly, focus a lot more on the two ladies who are the most important people in the world to me, which is my wife and my daughter, right? And so I'm sitting in the back of this car with this company that drives for us a lot, because I'm heading to the airport a lot. And so my family is literally in the airport now. We're going to fly to Chicago and spend a long weekend together and go to a wedding, on Monday. But because I run my business, I don't have to ask anybody permission to do that. Right. So I think a lot of us continue to think about like, oh, well, what are we going to do one day when whatever, right? My focus is like, buying an existing cash flowing business allows me to spend more time with my family now while I'm vibrant. It allows me to live, right? This myth about like waiting, to your 65, 75, 85 years old to stop. You want to live now. That's what we're talking about. So one, let's live now. Two, I already told you, cash flow and frankly, some sort of waterfall event, right? So whether we end up recapitalizing the business as we grow, at some point, I'm going to get to take 70 to 80%, if 100% of cash off the table. And that cash is most likely going to be tax free, and it's going to be multiple millions of dollars. And so at that point, I'm calling people like Joe or other people, and I'm fully funding, life insurance. And by the way, this is probably ongoing, so let me not say I'm waiting until that moment, but trust funds and all of those things that are literally going to set my daughter, and if we decide to have more children, up, for the future. Not only that, but when I think, for me, it's also about my parents. It's about freaking all my siblings, right? My nieces, my nephews, and even more than the money, to me, it's the exposure to the fact that they don't have to climb the corporate ladder, because I can tell you all, right? For those of us who've been blessed to kind of make it to the top of the corporate ladder, only to look over and say, dang, this ladder was up against the wrong wall the whole time. And what I'm telling you all is you got the opportunity to move this ladder onto the right ladder, which is ownership of a cash flowing business. And then as we're talking about it, the exposure now to people. Once again, this is me, right? The reason I share my story is because some of you have seen me, and if not, you'll see me again. And because I'm not Jay-Z, Rihanna, or Kanye West, you're going to be like, dang, that dude Donnie, who was sitting in the back of a car talking to me, if he could do it, I know I can do it.
Yeah.
And I don't take that as shade, right? I take it as that's why I got to share my story, because I think the legacy for me, bro, is not just my immediate family. Once again, it's the thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, and frankly, I hope millions of people, specifically that look like me, that come from similar backgrounds to me, who are exposed to the fact that this is an option. Because I think we have literally been raised where we believe that we know all the options, and this is just such a significant gap where people don't even think about the fact that they can buy an existing cash flowing business. And that's, if from a legacy perspective, I'm able to be that conduit, then I think my legacy, that may be, frankly, you talked about passion and purpose. I've never been more passionate and purposeful about anything outside of this. And this has largely evolved over time, which is also why I think the passion thing is kind of like, yeah,
I'm with you.
You'll know it when you find it.
Correct. But you got to keep doing something. Let me say this, man. Like, I love what you said in terms of it's not just leaving a legacy, it's living a legacy. And so the benefits is not just when you die one day or when you're old. It's like, no, your life shifts now, today, that you could spend more time with your family that you get. So I appreciate that. People want to know, man, how can they find you, man? Like, people want to follow you. They want to see what you're doing.
Yeah, man. So I'm all over social media. I want to say Facebook, I'm probably Donnie Bedney. I know for sure on Instagram, I'm Donnie Bedney. You can also, I have a show, the Only Dream Big Pod. You can listen to that as well. And then I'm all over LinkedIn. So Donnie Lou Bedney the third, probably, on LinkedIn. But I think I got glasses on and something else maybe. But I'm literally on all that. Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter, as well. I'm around there. And then frankly, man, just as we're talking about it, Joe has my email. So let's just do it this way, right? Like if you all want to, spend some time, I'm more than willing to give, 30 minutes here or there, for everybody in the community. Again, if you have some more questions, or, once again, we can figure out a time for me to hop back on. But I'm sure, given some more time, man, you talk about passion. This is one of the purposes and reasons that I'm on this earth, is to share this message.
I love that. And I believe, man, that God has his hand on you, man. I can feel the anointing of God on you. So I appreciate, Donnie, bro. This is the way you come back on Let's Talk Money, y'all. Like, this is when you take a month off. This is how you come back with the heat.
Let's go.
So Donnie, bro, I appreciate you, man. Thank you for answering the call. I made the ask.
Yeah.
You came through. You blessed everybody. Everybody here is loving it. They're vibing what you're saying. A lot of people, including myself, didn't even really fully understand. Even when you talk, I feel like every time you talk about this, I learn more and more and more and more. And so I promise y'all, we're going to get Donnie back up on this show. So I appreciate you, Donnie. I don't know if you have any last words before I kind of close it off for us.
Look, man, just the final thing, man, and I want you all to just, resonate with these three things again, right? There is no shortage of capital. I don't care what you thought or what somebody told you or anything else. There is zero shortage of capital. It's out there. There is no shortage of opportunity. 4.5 million businesses will change hands this decade. I don't believe there's 4.5 million people on here, so we don't need 4.5 million of those businesses, right? But there's 4.5 million out there. And oh, by the way, what's the biggest gap? People who know and want to acquire an existing cash flowing business. Y'all are gonna find it. Be willing to be courageous and just take the first step. You don't have to figure out everything. Start putting that thing out there. You got me, you got Joe. We're building a community. However I can help and be a resource, I'm with it. Appreciate the time.
Donnie, I appreciate you. Appreciate you, my brother. Everybody, look, y'all heard it here. Let's talk money, man. This game, we ain't playing around. Like, this is straight up all about making sure that y'all got the tools y'all need to be able to build a financial legacy you can be proud of. And I can tell you right now, it's not a cop-out if you're an entrepreneur to go acquire a cash flowing business. Matter of fact, it's a way to bolster your business. And so if you have a passion for dancing, or you have a passion for whatever that is, it's possible to find an existing business that works. And so look, guys, we're going to be bringing you heat next month, 4th week of June. I think it's June 23rd. We're going to be talking about this concept of business credit, like business credit. If you own a business and you need access to capital, I think there's some synergies here with what Donnie said. We're going to be teaching you how to get access to capital so that you can run your business. Business credit with my boy Barney. We're bringing him back. So look, man, if y'all enjoyed yourselves, share this. We're going to be leaving this on my page for a little bit. Get people access to the community, y'all. And so I appreciate y'all today. Look forward to seeing y'all next month. Follow my page, y'all. I got a whole bunch of content that we putting out there. The one thing I forgot too is Juneteenth 2 cents is coming back. 1st week of June. I believe it's June 8th. I need y'all to tap in. We bring in 2 cents, the Juneteenth edition. All June, we're going to be talking about Black heroes who went from slavery to millionaire status. Now we're talking legacy. Anyways, I love y'all. I'm going to see y'all real soon next month. Enjoy y'all Memorial Day weekend. We're going to get up.
Before Financial Legacy Academy, we were secure in where we were. We were paying all our bills on time. But one thing that we weren't doing is setting aside things that we could use for later.
I was a straight consumer, period. Just used money to spend.
I was a spendthrift. I was like very materialistic, whether it was cars or jewelry or things of that nature.
This class gave us a clear strategy. Financial Legacy brought a certain amount of consistency to what we were doing. Now we were doing things intentionally.
With this class, we've totally invested our money in the right places. We've saved our money. We're more on a budget.
We're in a better financial place.
What we took from it was able to really sit down, come up with a plan together, and really allow ourselves to take our incomes together and grow them.
I think it's really important for the Black community to have a financial legacy because we've literally built America from the ground up.
I would definitely recommend this class for anyone who wants to build wealth or wants to invest but doesn't know where to start.
We definitely recommend Financial Legacy.
Because not only is it going to change your current situation, but it's going to help to change the situation for all them cheering that you got coming in the future.